If you want to know the 3 reasons why willpower never works for binge eaters, stick around. Welcome to Confessions of a Binge Eater, the podcast helping women over 50 stop binge eating, feel in control around food, and lose weight naturally without ever needing another diet that makes you feel like a failure. I'm Tricia Nelson, a former binge eater and your host. Okay, so I'm from the Northeast, and when I was a teenager, I'd go to our local Friendly's ice cream store, which serves sandwiches and burgers as well as ice cream. Well, my friends would order a sandwich and it would come with fries, and they would eat their sandwich and pick at their fries. Whereas I would eat my fries and pick at my sandwich, and I would look at them and wonder, how do they do it? How do they leave French fries on their plate? I felt like a Martian, like I had just landed from outer space, and they somehow had a different way of relating to food than I did because I would always eat my fries. And honestly, I'd eat other people's fries if I could get away with it. Today, I want to talk about something that I believed for years, and maybe you did too. The idea that if I could just get more willpower, I'd finally stop binge eating. If I could just be stronger and be more disciplined, if I could just say no to the cookies or the chips or the ice cream or those darn French fries, then everything would finally change. So here's what I want you to know if you find yourself thinking that. If willpower had worked or was a winning strategy, it would have worked by now. Think about it. Most of the women I work with are incredibly successful. They've raised families, they've built careers, they've cared for aging parents. They've shown up for everyone else. They're dependable, responsible, hardworking. Recognize yourself there. They have willpower in almost every area of their lives. And yet when it comes to food, they feel completely powerless. So the problem isn't that they don't have willpower. The problem is they're trying to use willpower to solve a problem that isn't caused by a lack of willpower. It's a little like trying to stop a leaking roof by mopping the floor. You can mop the floor all day long, but until you fix the leak, you're going to keep getting wet. Get it? That's what happens when we rely on willpower. We keep trying harder without addressing what's actually driving the eating. So over the years, after working with thousands of women, I've found that there are really 3 major forces behind compulsive eating. And every one of them is stronger than willpower. That's why willpower doesn't work. So those 3 forces are emotions, stress, and habit. So let's talk about each one. Now, before I hit my bottom with food and I asked my mentor, Roy, for help, I was on a strict food plan. I had been weighing and measuring my food for quite a while, like 9 months. Really, like so strict, not a string bean out of place. And I was counting my days and it was going well. I lost 40 pounds. But then something happened. I began to slip with my strict eating. Okay, so the lines got a little blurry. And before I knew it, I was back at the donut shop getting more food that wasn't on my food plan. And I tell you this story because the reason why that food plan stopped working and my resolve to stick to it didn't last is because what that plan did for me is it took away all my favorite foods and it didn't give me any way to deal with my emotions. The reason why I gained those 40 pounds is I was using food to stuff my emotions, to numb and not feel. I wanted to be more even emotionally, and sugar and carbs did that for me. But when I went on this very strict food plan, planning to lose weight, sure, I lost weight. But then what happened? The emotions that had been buried by those 40 pounds and all the food that got me there began to surface. They started to bubble to the surface, and I had no tools for dealing with those emotions. So I started to get off kilter. I started to get depressed. And I didn't even know why I was depressed. I was just like, I feel bad. The high of losing those 40 pounds began to wear off. And what I had left was all those emotions I had never done anything about. And so, of course, I started to look for my best friend food. And I began to slip and slide. And before you know it, I was down at Winchell's Donut Shop. And I lived right down the street from it. So that was disastrous for me. I was living on the West Coast at that time. So I tell that story because the first reason willpower never lasts is because of our emotions. This is the biggest one. And honestly, it's the one that most people completely overlook. Food isn't just food for an emotional eater. Food has a job. Food comforts us, it rewards us, it distracts us, it helps us celebrate, it helps us get by. It has so many functions. And we overlook that when we just want to lose weight and we cut out all our favorite foods, we're cutting out our coping tools. When you say, I'm not going to eat tonight, you're not simply giving up dessert. You're trying to take away your oldest coping mechanism. You're asking yourself to give up the very thing that's been helping you survive emotionally, often since a very young age in childhood. At least that was true for me. So no wonder it's hard. No wonder willpower doesn't last. This is why I teach something I call the PEP test or the PEP formula. I teach about it and write about it in my book. So the PEP formula is a way to understand what food is doing for you. So PEP is an acronym, and it stands for painkiller, escape, and punishment. The PEP test is a way of identifying what food is doing for you, how it is serving you. Okay, so the first P in PEP, PEP being the acronym, PEP, the first P stands for painkiller. We use food as a painkiller. For what kind of pain? All kinds of pain. Boredom, loneliness, feeling hurt, moving to a new job and feeling insecure about that, having a partner who's not faithful, having a kid who's dysregulated, having parents who just got a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or cancer. Life serves up plenty of pain, and we use food to soften the edges of life. Okay, so we use food as a painkiller. We also use food as a form of escape. Escape from what? Well, my experience is emotional eaters are not only overeaters, we are overthinkers. So we are trying to escape our own brains. We have an overactive mind that's always thinking of the worst case scenario. What did she mean by that? They're rejecting me. Oh, my husband doesn't love me. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to live on the street. My goodness, our brains are so crazy, mean, and scary, right? Sending us all kinds of thoughts that are scary and hard to really sift through and sit through. So we get our favorite binge foods, we sit in front of the TV, and all of a sudden, all those fearful, awfulizing thoughts go away. The last P in PEP stands for punishment, which is counterintuitive because we think of food as a reward, right? It's not a punishment, it's a reward. But what happens when you overindulge? What happens when you feel sick and you're on the couch and you're hating yourself for what you did? And then you wake up the next morning feeling awful, like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that again. Your face is bloated. You don't want to put your jeans on. You don't want to go out with girlfriends. You just want to do some sheet therapy under the covers. So these are the ways that food serves us. It serves as a painkiller so we can avoid pain, serves as an escape so we can escape our own scary minds, and it serves as a punishment when, as overeaters, we also are overfeelers and we feel guilty so easily. We are just mean girls to ourselves, right? Okay, so that's the PEP test. That's how you can start really discerning how food is serving you, what you're using food for beyond I just like food. Trust me, that's not all there is to it. We eat for pain, we eat for escape, we eat for punishment because we have emotions that are tough, we have thoughts that are scary, and we have guilt over practically everything. So before you reach for food, I want you to ask yourself 3 simple questions. Am I in pain? Is there something I'm feeling pain about? Am I trying to escape something uncomfortable, or am I punishing myself because I'm feeling guilty or I'm beating myself up? So these are some simple questions you can ask to get to what those emotions are that you might be looking to suppress or bury with food. And when you begin asking those questions, something happens. You stop seeing yourself as someone who lacks willpower. and you begin seeing what your eating is actually trying to do for you. Food isn't the problem. Food is trying to solve a problem for you. So the second reason willpower doesn't last is stress. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to eat well when life feels calm? Maybe you're on vacation, you're sleeping well, you're walking on the beach, you don't have a lot of stress. You aren't solving everyone else's problems. Food isn't consuming your thoughts the way it usually does. And then you come home. Your inbox is overflowing, the laundry is piled up, your husband needs something from you again, or one of your kids calls with a problem that stresses you out. Aging parents, don't get me started. So suddenly the food noise gets louder. That isn't because you suddenly became weak. It's because your nervous system is under stress. When we're stressed, our brains naturally look for relief. They aren't thinking about losing weight next month. They're thinking about surviving this moment, which is hard. And if you've trained your brain that food provides quick relief, that's exactly where your mind will go. Again, this isn't about willpower, it's about biology. It's about your nervous system looking for the fastest way to feel better. Now, the third reason willpower never lasts is habit. This one is fascinating because most of us don't even realize it's happening. Have you ever driven somewhere and arrived without remembering how you actually got there? Like you just were on autopilot. Well, your brain loves habits because habits save energy. Once we repeat something enough times, the brain simply puts it on autopilot. The same thing happens with eating. Maybe every night after dinner you've had ice cream for 20 years. Maybe every afternoon at 3 o'clock you reach for chocolate. Perhaps every time you make coffee, you automatically want something sweet. And of course, the example of television, whenever you watch TV, you're ready for a snack. So those aren't conscious decisions anymore. They're habits. Your brain has practiced those pathways thousands of times. So when the cue appears, your brain automatically begins the routine. Before you even realize what's happening, you've opened the pantry or the freezer. Willpower is asking your conscious mind to fight against patterns your subconscious has rehearsed for years, maybe decades. That's not a fair fight. This is why diets fail so many emotional eaters. Diets tell you what to eat and what not to eat. They focus on changing behavior, but rarely do they ask, what emotion is she trying not to feel? How stressed is her nervous system? What habits have become deeply ingrained over the last 30 years? Without answering those questions, we keep believing we've failed another diet, when the truth is the diet simply failed to address the real problem. We try to use willpower to fight emotions, calm stress, and overcome decades of habits. That's like bringing a butter knife to chop down an oak tree. It's not that the butter knife is bad, it's just the wrong tool for the job. So willpower isn't the enemy, it's just not enough. Real recovery happens when we heal the emotions underneath the eating. We learn healthier ways to regulate stress so food is no longer our only source of comfort. And we intentionally create new habits that eventually become just as automatic as the old ones. My clients are doing it on a daily basis. So the next time you find yourself saying, I just need more willpower, I want you to pause and ask yourself 3 different questions instead. What am I feeling? What is stressing me out right now? And what habit am I falling into? Those 3 questions will tell you more about your binge eating than another promise to, quote, be good, because it's not about becoming good. You are already good. It's not about getting stronger. You already are so strong in so many ways. It's really about solving the drivers of emotional eating, the things that you've been tripping over in your quest for willpower. That's where real freedom begins. So to recap, the 3 reasons willpower will never work are buried emotions, stress, and deeply ingrained habits. Diets don't even touch those things. Willpower will never work. So I invite you to take a deeper journey. If this episode resonated for you, I invite you to take the first step on your healing journey. Go to healyourhunger.com and you'll find a quick quiz which will tell you if you're an emotional eater or a food addict or somewhere in between, by giving you a personalized score and next steps for how you can begin your healing journey. I'm so excited to support you on healing your heart and feeding your soul. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of Confessions of a Binge Eater.